Hello, and welcome to Addicted Like Us, a podcast discussing all things written by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I'm your host, Haley, and today I have two very special guests, Krista and Becca, with me to tease Burn Bright, Book 1 in the Cobalt Empire series. Thank you both so much for being here this weekend. I appreciate it, and I'm certain there are a lot of readers who appreciate you guys teasing this. I know I've got a lot of questions here because people are dying to know everything about this book.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. I feel like the hardest part about talking about this book is going to be not shutting up.
Yes. Restraint.
That's fair. I had some practice with the Destructively Mine podcast, and I'm more practiced with this one. But yeah, so essentially the way for all of you listeners, this is going to be a teaser podcast, so no spoilers for the book. But time permitting, we have some more spoilery questions that pertain to the book that will happen more towards the end in what I'm calling the extended cut. And that extended cut will come out after the book. So you can listen now and be teased, and then you can listen later and get a couple more spoilery questions answered. But we're going to start off with some of the non-spoilery teases for Burn Bright. So I guess I'll start off with my questions So in the tropes you've shared for this book, there's friends to lovers and college romance, which is a lot like the tropes that you guys had for Addicted to You. What has it been like to return to those roots? And were there any challenges, or did it feel more like riding a bike?
I thought it was actually really easy, and I think when we started writing it, I was surprised how much of our own college experience we hadn't put in the Addicted series, and all of these things that we still had under our sleeves that we could put in Burn Bright.
Yeah, I agree. It felt like a breath of fresh air. It did feel like returning home in a way to our bread and butter, what we had done for so long up until I guess the Leica series was really the departure of sort of the college, because we didn't do college-esque things in that series. Yeah, but it was fun going back to it for sure.
I think it reminds me that we grew up really consuming a lot of coming of age media. That's normally what we wrote when we were younger, was young adult characters 18, 19. So it felt almost very natural to write Burn Bright because it is something we're much more, I feel used to.
100%. 100%.
So this is the second/third, if we're counting Bad Rep as the spinoff too, series from the Addicted series. So what has it been like writing something that's a brand new series that a reader could jump into with the history of 15-ish books that took place before it?
I just have to, me and Krista have talked about this so much, but I have to state that Burn Bright, really what it is and how, I don't know the best way to describe it, but how it exists would not happen without the Leica series, without the Addicted series. Even though it can be read as a standalone, I feel like it benefits from having 15 books beforehand, and basically 10 years, 12 years of us cultivating these characters and this history and this world, and us knowing so much about each character.
Why did I say 15? Sorry. It's 20. It's 20 books.
20 books.
I have
Many books.
15 sounded right to me. I was like, I can't count.
I was staring at my books and I was like, there's at least 10 in the Addicted series. Sorry, continue.
I think so. We have done sort of jumping in point books before. Kiss the Sky is a book that you can jump into the Addicted series at and totally be fine and understand the series. So it wasn't too hard for us to sort of wrap our head around how to write a new jumping in point. But I think that Burn Bright is so special in the sense that it has all of this rich history before it that have sort of made the characters feel so extremely real to us. We know almost everything about every single character, especially the Cobalts and, Ben's cousins. So writing them just is so much, it's so different than when we were writing the Addicted series. Wouldn't you say, Krista?
Yeah, and I think that the biggest challenge for Burn Bright, even though I think that the benefit is that it does have all this history and it makes the characters very three-dimensional and very fleshed out, but I think that it also brings apart this great challenge and not trying to overwhelm new readers so that and I think that's what ended up happening, making it such a big book. It was kind of necessary because when we introduce side characters and all of this history, we kind of need to give room to breathe and for like readers to really like process and not just kind of slam them with every single sibling right in the front and just be like, of course you know this person. No, we try our best to really slowly kind of guide a reader into this world, and I think that takes a little bit of time, and it wasn't as challenging as I think we thought it would be. I think that the biggest challenge was deciding what side characters and what information was necessary
For
for
the
this book
story.
because we have so much information in the whole world, but it's not all necessary in book one of the Cobalt Empire series.
Yeah. Well, sometimes backstory, like, it just, we know the characters so deeply and like how they would react to a certain situation. So it's not like we're not info dumping an encyclopedia on everyone, on new readers or anything like that. And like Krista said, it's not here's a scene right off the bat with like 10 characters. It's very much slowly like you're going to know this character, who this person is before you see them with like a bunch of other people.
Okay, so for Krista, as the self proclaimed science nerd of your duo, what was it like writing about another science nerd?
My gosh, this was my dream. Like I told Becca, eventually we have to write a pre-med character. It's just absolutely necessary. And writing Harriet was so much fun. Basically everything she does in the book to try to get into med school is something I did. And like writing it all out, I was like, this feels so overwhelming, girl. What are you doing?
I was
And I was like, I did that. And like, I, it was cathartic in a way. I was like, I'm so glad someone else is going through the pain that I went through in college. But she's a lot smarter than me. So, she's hopefully, fingers crossed, she'll actually get
What?
there.
Krista's underplaying how smart she is. Krista was in honors in college too. Like this is not like
I mean, if you were doing, I was talking about this with my dad this morning because I was literally thinking about all of the things that Harriet does in this book. And I'm like, I don't have the personality or the drive to be a doctor. And like, if you're out there doing that, that's more impressive than what I did in my college.
Yeah, I still think about it and I'm like, I don't know how I found the time. Like Becca was asking me, she was like, how did you know that, you have to go, Harriet is doing this, like what research did you do? And I like looked at Becca and I was like, I did that. What do you mean? I volunteered at a hospital.
yeah, I knew she did all the research because I was like so impressed by that. And I had to go to her final, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the showcase where she showed all of her research
With the mice. Yeah.
on PowerPoints. And I was just like, this is above my brain capacity. I have no idea what she's talking about, but it sounds so smart. And I was just like, this is very impressive. Yeah, Krista was so good at it that they wanted her to stay in grad school and do research and not become a doctor. They were like, you don't need to do
They're like, are you sure you don't want to go to grad school? And I was like, I feel like I just did grad school. I did 4 years of undergrad research. I was like, no.
Yeah, no. Okay, so you've said that you've had some books that have been really challenging to write and some that almost write themselves. Where on the scale do you think Burn Bright falls?
That's such a good question. It definitely did not write
It
itself.
didn't write itself. I would say in the middle because it definitely wasn't the most challenging thing. So going into the book, we had a very specific vision. We've had it for years of like what we wanted this book to be. This isn't a book that we just planned out in like a couple months. Like this has been like years and years of like thinking about like how we were going to open this series and what it was going to turn out to be. When we were writing, we never strayed from the vision. We didn't need to. It was correct in like, our feelings about it. But while we were also writing, we had to stop at a certain point and then go back and add things throughout. We can't really talk about it too in depth without spoiling, but it definitely, we never took anything out of the book. We were constantly adding certain things to help with pacing and stuff. And I think that's what made it challenging. Was we had
Yeah.
some of, usually we write in chronological order, and we had some scenes that were written at the end that were done before we had to like go back and like add certain stuff, and that usually does not happen quite like that. So it was an
Yeah.
interesting way that we sort of developed this book.
I feel like we didn't have to, like, when a book is challenging, we're scrapping and we're like rewriting. That's when it like gets on like the this is insane scale. Like, this is
Yeah.
hard. And this one was really, like Becca said, we were adding. And I think it was honestly smooth sailing up until like three-fourths. And I think when we got to like three-fourths of the way through the book, I think that's when we had to start like fine tuning a lot of stuff and
Yeah,
like
we
really like digging in.
like we still talk about this book, that we went through this book with a fine-tooth comb almost on every single line. We were like, okay, does this sound like this character? Is this in their voice? Is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct for the past history? Are we retconning anything? Like, it was very much like,
Also pacing, because we were like, this is a giant book, and if there's like like if I start getting bored while during my reread, we need to like start like figuring some stuff out.
I think that this definitely is one of our best, if not our best crafted book, because we took so much time to like really work on it and like make sure it was like paced correctly.
And I always say like a standalone is so different because it's like you have such a satisfying conclusion. Like, there's like a beginning, middle, end all in like one book. And I feel like we don't write standalones very often. So there is something about Burn Bright that just really stands out among like our canon of work that's a lot more satisfying, I think, in just like one read.
Agree with that. So it's a little bit of a question, kind of an observation. You've talked in the past that you needed to pick the right characters to be able to introduce your massive cast of characters and all of the history. And Maximoff was that for the Leica series, and Ben is that for the Cobalt Empire series. And they kind of remind me of each other a little bit. What do you like? Do you think it's their personalities that make them the best choice for the first book? Like, what is it that makes them the right choices?
So this question brings me back because when we were first talking about who's going to open the book, me and Krista had I feel like it was days of conversations about Ben too similar to Maximoff in order to open the series. And we talked in depth about their differences because they are actually very different characters. And I think that it boils down to Maximoff being the oldest guy of all of the families, whereas Ben is sort of like the youngest of the Cobalt brothers. So their position in the families naturally makes them very different people, even though they both have a lot of empathy and they both pop off. They both can get very angry, but Maximoff has responsibilities that Ben doesn't necessarily have. I mean, Damage Like Us opens with it being like responsibility is Maximoff's favorite toy that he loves to collect. That would not be a line you would attribute to Ben Cobalt. So those are, I think, like the biggest differences. Isn't no one's looking to Ben to protect everyone in the family the same way that they're looking at Maximoff. Would you?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that it's not their personalities that make them the best at opening the series. I think it is their positions in the family, which is they're both very different, but in a way they are similar because we always say Maximoff was the best for the Leica series because he's connected to so many people. So he naturally will be such a good guide into all of the characters. And for Ben, he's so connected to basically his whole family because of what he's going through at the start of Burn Bright. So there's so much, I think, attention on him. And we always say that it's the most interesting for us thinking about a younger brother moving and living with the older brothers for the first time. And when we thought of that, we could not get it out of our heads. We were like, this is such a good opening for a whole series because it's really an outsider coming into a situation that he's never been a part of, and you as a reader can view it for the first time as well with him. And I think that was like really, really special.
Yeah, and you definitely want like the Cobalt brothers to feel older and not like younger in a way. And the best perspective to be in is definitely the youngest brother. Because he's going to naturally see his other brothers as being like older than him because they are.
No, I had been letting my friend read my arc, and we were just like talking it out as she was going through all the chapters. And the more we kept talking, I was like, no, like I'm fully solidified in the idea that Ben was the best opener. Like we were talking about like, well, what if it was Elliot, or what if it was Tom, or what if it was Beckett? And I was like, no, none of them worked as well as Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think that the way that Ben, did I just say Ben?
Then,
Views his siblings is just it's the perspective you want to be in
Mm-hmm.
going in. Even though obviously he has a lot of animosity towards Charlie, I do think that that is the right perspective to see Charlie in at the beginning of the series, especially coming off if you've read the Leica series, which is not necessary. You can read Burn Bright like solely on its own, but like if you are coming off on the Leica series, you're not going to be jarred of like, who is this Charlie? Charlie is the same Charlie that you've seen. Um, when you're in Ben's perspective, it's not like Charlie doesn't do like some sort of 180 turnaround.
Yeah.
yeah, like Beckett's perspective of Charlie will probably be the most different
But because
view.
I'd wanted Beckett, well, because you were like, you need an Charlie wasn't going to do it because he isn't totally a reliable narrator or whatever, to like give us the honest opinion on everybody else. And I was like, but Beckett is the honest brother. And I was like, no, Beckett's not going to give an honest opinion on Charlie. I don't, he's a soft
Yeah,
spot.
no, exactly. So yeah, it really comes down to Ben just being like in all ways, I feel like Ben was just made to open the series.
Yeah, so I think we covered the what does Ben bring as the opener that Maximoff doesn't, which is, yeah. Okay, so after me rereading the Leica series the past 2 months, I'm remembering a time when I wasn't sure whether it was going to be Ben and Harriet or Harriet and Xander. There's a certain scene, and there are hindsight and details that were mentioned in Bird Bright, where I was like, oh, duh, of course it's going to be these two. But when did you guys know that these two would be together?
So I think Ben and Harriet were always sort of like the number one ship in our minds, but because when we know that there it takes a while for us to actually get to someone's like romance book, we don't pigeonhole ourselves. We're like, okay, maybe let's discuss another possibility if something comes up. So like when Xander and Harriet did like have that moment, we were like, well, is this the better, like, is this the real romance here? Like, are we, because we don't want to like force anything. We want to make sure that, you know, organically like things feel right too. But I think the more we talked about it, we felt like our initial like plan was it. Don't you think, Krista?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember like constant questions between each other, Ben or Harriet,
We're like, what does
Xander or
this look
Harriet.
like? What does this look like? Because I
Like
mean, they
all the time we would discuss the possibilities and the pros and cons and yeah, what the romance we would be writing and stuff. I cannot for the life of me remember the exact moment we were like, okay, solidified, it is Ben and Harriet though. Like
can't even.
I can never remember that. All I remember is the discussions of other possibilities. Because we really, honestly, sometimes it's not even like we would go with Xander and Harriet. It's like it's almost like every time we have a counter possibility, it strengthens the other possibility because we start talking about why Ben and Harriet are so good together and like almost like defending them, you know, like
Flesh it
against
out
this
more.
other pair.
Yeah.
especially if we see other readers being like starting to ship a couple, we're like that we didn't really intend. We're like, okay, well, why are they shipping them? Is this a good romance? Like, if they're into it, like, what is their, what is that possibility? And we'll talk about it and discuss it just because, I mean, someone is feeling something there. So
You
maybe
put vibes in
something,
there somewhere.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's good to explore between me and Krista to really explore different options. Like Krista said, it strengthens usually our initial plan, and makes us more confident going into it.
So the last time we had talked, you had settled on a publishing order for the books, but it was still tentative. Have you guys fully determined what order you guys are going with now?
Yes.
Yes, it is very.
It's very much official because we've turned it into our agent. So like
Okay.
I feel like it would have to take some sort of like a big thing for us not
Yeah, and
to do it.
we know pretty much sort of what each book sort of is about
The
and
whole
why
arc.
they would flow in the order that they're flowing. Narratively, it would be even hard to change at this point because they're all in a specific order for story purposes.
And then the last of my personal questions, and then we'll get into the submitted questions. But um, the audio narrator in the Leica series gives Leo an accent, and I want to know if that's canon or if that was an interpretation from her, because I feel like I didn't remember seeing that he had an accent.
He does not have an
Okay.
accent. This is interesting. Which book is it?
It's Unlucky and Nobody Like Us. Luna's narrator
Interesting.
gives
I'll have
kind
to
of I think she gives him maybe a Russian accent because of his last name.
He has a Greek last name.
Or okay, maybe it's a Greek last. I don't know what kind of accent it is. I'm real bad at it,
That's a really interesting.
but
Okay,
it's an accent.
I'm gonna have to go listen to it. So I haven't listened all the way through on every single book. The Lunally books, I've only listened to like certain chapters. So I definitely didn't listen to the Leo chapter.
It jars me because in my head he doesn't, and I was like, oh, okay,
To
maybe.
tease the Burn Bright audio, it's gonna be our first duet audio.
So excited for this.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah, as a audiobook lover, I thoroughly enjoy duets.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're good.
so now for the reader submitted questions, I've tried to break them up into categories because we were getting a lot of similar questions. But for Ben's questions, what relationship between Ben and one of his family members surprised you the most?
I feel like Tom. I think that they had a very interesting relationship.
Yeah, I really do love Ben and Tom's relationship. You see it a little bit I feel like one of my favorite scenes with them in the Like Us series is during the dress fitting in Unlucky Like Us. And yeah, I feel like it's that, but like you like sort of grow to like understand what their connection, like what their bond is. I don't know. I love Tom.
He definitely feels like the brother who's closest in age to him. Like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Like when you read, like, yeah, this brother is like not that much older than that.
Which of the Cobalt siblings is Ben most similar to?
I want to say Elliot to a degree. I would say Elliot. I think
That's a
that
nice
they both,
Krista.
I think that would you say agree?
No,
Why? They're
I
both
would say,
the most social. Like, they both,
I was gonna
like,
say Beckett. I don't know, like
what? What would you say, Haley?
they have like Beckett and Ben have a kindness
I
and
was gonna say
empathy
Beckett too.
that
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
like Beckett is also very social. Like he has a ton of
Okay,
friends.
okay, okay, okay.
I don't know. There's just maybe it's like there's like a hard edge with Charlie and Elliot and Tom that I don't think Beckett necessarily has, and I don't think Ben totally has either.
Yeah, it's like the softness. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see where y'all are going.
I think that's why Ben gravitates to Beckett so much is because he sees a lot of himself in Beckett and like I think that's where he draws comfort is like he wants to be understood and I feel like that's why he keeps like he admits it's his favorite brother, you know?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think like Elliot's I don't know, there's like a sort of passion between like, I feel like, okay, you know what?
We can say it's a mix. It's a Beckett Elliot.
They're all
Ben
coming
is
from
like
the same two parents. Let's just put it at that.
Okay. There are a lot of questions about what you can possibly tease about Ben's secret. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 questions submitted asking about Ben's secret. What can you tease about it?
well, it's a
Not
secret.
much. Yes.
I would say that, yeah, I would say we can't say much.
I feel like, yeah.
We can't say much about it. But I think that when you find out what the secret is, it's going to lead you to more questions.
It's a layered secret.
Yeah, it's definitely a
is.
layer. It's a secret layer. It's an
It's
onion.
like an onion. Yeah.
It's a secret onion.
Okay. Will we get to know how Ben spent his summer before Burn Bright?
Question.
Okay, so this
Maybe
I've
in
thought about this.
bonus?
I've thought about this, and I think that on Patreon we're doing Frog and Quinn, like Frog and Quinn's story, and it takes place over that summer. So you're already getting some information about Ben that is not in Burn Bright. It's not in the Leica series about that summer. So I would say that yes, but it's going to
Subscribe to
be on
Patreon
Patreon.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
All right. So now we have some Harriet questions. There are a lot about what will we learn about Harriet and her backstory in Burn Bright? Like, will we find out about her parents, if she has any siblings, and like where she grew up?
Yes.
Yes.
You will get all of her backstory and information like that in Burn Bright for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to know Harriet on like a much deeper level. Her motivations, her what her life was like, what it is like now. I love Harriet. She's a very unique character in terms of like our canon of female characters. I feel like she really stands on her own.
There are a couple of questions about like how you decided on what she looks like. The fact that she's blonde with blue eyes and that she is quite petite compared to Ben. How do you decide on that kind of thing?
I don't think when we first wrote her, I don't think that we were like, oh, we're gonna write a really
A love
short
interest.
character. Yeah, a love interest who's really short, and then with Ben who's 6'5". I think that we were looking at the fact that we write a lot of tall characters and we need some shorties in there.
We really did. We honestly, and we don't write a lot of blonde female
But
characters.
now I feel like we do. I feel like now we have a lot more.
Yeah. But I think when we first like conceptualized Harriet, she was just Luna's lab partner. Like that was what we were like her physical appearance. We were creating Luna's lab partner. We didn't set out to create a love interest. And then as we wrote with her,
We
that's
really
kind
like
of
her.
when we were like, okay, we really like this character and we want to see her again.
And then what is it that makes Harriet different from other female characters that you've written so far?
It's a good question.
I think that okay, so outwardly she's very much like I guess like a black cat is like the trope name. She has resting bitch face. She can be very guarded. But I think internally she's such an interesting character, especially when you get in her head, because she's so determined and resilient, but she also has like these conflicting things of she does have insecurities. She is a loner, but she's not necessarily trying not to be a loner and like change who she is. She's just trying to make her goals and she has like very specific goals that she wants to reach. I think that she's an interesting character in the fact that she is very loyal to people, very committed, and she will say that like right off the bat when you first meet her is like she sort of treats other people I think how she wants to be treated by others, but she's yet to find someone to sort of give to her what she is externally giving out. I just find her I don't know. I love being in her head. I love when Krista writes her POV so I can read her first and I'm like, Harriet.
My gosh, I love writing. Her voice is one of my favorite voices to write. It's just like a breath of fresh air. I do love her determination and her goal like being so goal oriented. But I also think that just for the fact of like the whole big world of the Addicted series, like a series, she is one of the first outsiders that's, a female coming in. And I think that perspective is just so different right
Yes.
now. And I think that's what makes it so interesting and fun.
I mean, I think it blows your mind too. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like the Leica series, there was no girlfriend coming in. They were literally all guys who came into the family. Like there was no girls coming into the family.
The end, it was like no girlfriends have been to the lake house. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. It was all boyfriends.
Yes. When you get, honestly, when I wrote that, or maybe Krista wrote it first, I was just like,
I was like, there were significant others. What are you
there had
talking
to
about? And I
have
was
been,
like, they're
there had to
literally
have been
all
a
men.
girlfriend. Yeah. It's like there had to have been a girlfriend. No, there was just boyfriends. But also, they almost get a pass because they
That's
were
my other thing is that,
bodyguards and they were like
yeah,
allowed to sort of be at the lake house
they
in
already
ways.
knew about the lake house. That's
Yeah.
what I had been thinking.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were.
it wasn't a big secret for them being in the know.
Yeah, it didn't matter if they knew because they already knew where the location was. It's not like that they were being told the location of the lake house for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Cobalts. Are there any Bridgerton siblings that you equate to the Cobalts?
Krista would know this better than I do because I haven't watched all the seasons.
I still feel like I'm not well versed with Bridgerton. Like, I feel like I've seen the season so long ago now at this point. All I know is that I did not like Colin.
Hey,
Penelope.
is that a hot
I
take?
love Penelope. The Featheringtons are my family. They're like the best part, I think, of the whole series. But Colin he can just go away.
What would you say, Haley? Do you think any equate?
I don't know, honestly. I'm trying to remember. Like, I've been through the season, all seasons once. So I feel like I don't know them that well.
That's the same with me. Yeah. Like, I can't remember the second guy's name.
Anthony, Benedict,
Anthony. Okay.
Colin, Daphne,
Eloise? Eloise?
Eloise.
Eloise?
Yes, Eloise.
You know, Audrey could be like
Francesca.
Eloise if Eloise was more into romance. Like if her fixation was on actually finding love and not like the inverse, like I feel like she would be like more of like Audrey. If she was more boy obsessed, which she's not, but
I could see it.
because she's very
Anthony's
like independent-y, like will go and run out, take a carriage, right? She's that sister.
Yeah, I feel like Anthony's like the glue of the family as like the oldest. And I'm like, maybe he's like Elliot, but he's not like a partier. So like, it's like hard. I don't know. I don't feel like there's a one-on-one comparison.
Okay, other than Ben, who from the Cobalt family are you most excited for readers to see interact with Harriet? This reader's most excited to see Rose.
I am most excited for readers to see Tom and Harriet interact just because Tom and Harriet have pre-existing history, which you don't need to know about, like, you don't need to read about it if you're brand new to us or anything. That's the beauty with Burn Bright is we sort of we will explain everything to you that you need to know as if it's like new backstory. You're not going to feel lost. Krista and I were very conscious of not making like inside jokes. I think that there's only one thing in here, and I can't even describe it, that would quote unquote be like an inside joke, but it doesn't even really need explaining, and I'm sure we'll explain it in another book. But yeah, because we were like, that's the one thing that we don't like when we read something and it's the feeling you don't want to feel like a little sensation of like, oh, I have
I'm
to go
missing
read, I'm
something.
missing something, I've got to go read all these other books. So we were very careful to not do that to a reader. Like you will know, we'll give you all the information. So Tom and Harriet's sort of backstory and history is very much like a huge part, I think, of Burn Bright. And you don't need to know anything prior because it's like all in there. And that's probably my favorite stuff. So I'm excited for people to read that.
Honestly, Harriet and everybody. I love her so much. I'm just excited. I'm excited, yeah, for readers to see Harriet literally talk to every single character.
She is literally she is, I think, like the perfect girl coming into the Cobalt universe as the first girl.
By far.
I just think it's so funny The comparison between the way Thatcher came into this family versus how Harriet is taken into this family. I'm like, y'all put Thatcher through it. And you just brought Harriet in with open arms, guys. Next question is specifically favorite thing about Elliot, but favorite thing about all the Cobalt siblings.
So I feel like in Burn Bright, every single sibling gets their time to shine, if not more so. Like, it's not even just one instance, it's like multiple instances. And Elliot has just, he in his core loves his family. He is like the one that he wants to be the glue and make everyone just come together. We're all the best, we're the most tight knit family. And yet, inversely, he's like such a destroyer on accident. Like, he is not someone that like comes in and like creates peace. He is a chaos maker. So it's just the dichotomy of Elliot is what I love so much about him.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to pick one, like, a favorite thing about Elliot, because I feel like, actually, no, I do have a favorite thing. I think my favorite thing is the fact that, yeah, he does love his family so much that, like, it makes it easy for her to write him, because he just constantly wants to be in the scene. Like, he's kind of like, I want to be around my brothers, you know? We don't have to like really try hard to bring him in. He's just
He will
there.
put himself in the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, what about me? I should be the center of attention right now.
All right, what about the other siblings? Do you have anything favorite about them?
Charlie has some of the best banter. I think that Charlie and Audrey really steal a lot of scenes together. I mean, you need characters like Charlie in anything, like in TV, in books. I think that they inherently make the book better for like the tension and the friction. So yeah, I love that Charlie is who he is because he's creating some drama.
Yeah, you want like a cast of characters that have different opinions on things, and not to hold back and like be willing to like voice what they think. And I think Charlie's like that to a T. He's not worried. He's not here like trying to make friends. He doesn't care.
Yeah. I love that Beckett has he's grown a lot more since, if you've read like a series, since when you first seen him. But he still has intrinsically like these trust issues with media and other people outside taking advantage of the family. And I think that's very prominent in comparison to like maybe some of his other siblings' point of views. So I think he brings an interesting perspective to like the group.
Yeah. I also think that his interactions with Harriet are some of my favorite. Like, they're very interesting. Like, I don't think that people are going to expect that dynamic. So I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then Tom, the first moment that Tom comes in to his first appearance, I love him. I
He's a
literally love
mood.
him. He's
He's
a
like
mood.
literally a
Yeah.
mood.
I mean, they're all a mood, but like he's a mood. Yeah.
Okay. There were, we'll talk more about Audrey. She's got a whole category on her own. But there were quite a few questions about what can you talk about the course of the Empire paintings?
I don't want to say too much because I would want people to sort of, find out how they're integrated in the book. But yeah, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, Cobalt siblings were gifted the course of an Empire paintings by Thomas Cole from Connor and Rose. So those paintings will make an appearance throughout the series.
Yeah, and Ben will explain that to you. Like, you don't need to know anything, any backstory or anything.
So lots of questions about Audrey too. What can you tease about Audrey's arc in this book?
Well, Audrey is back in Philly with her parents because she's only 16. She's not in New York with the brothers. And she's very sad because, the book opens with Ben moving to New York. So she feels like her brothers stole Ben. And that's like the beginning of her arc is feeling like her brothers took the last brother from her.
Yeah, she's alone in Philly. Her two best friends are also left Philly for reasons that you'll see in the book. And so she's definitely a little more isolated and lonely than she usually is. And I feel like she has one of the bigger arcs in Burn Bright.
Yeah, from start to finish, I would agree.
Just too, because like when we were discussing Burn Bright, we were really like, Ben is very, very close to Audrey, and we didn't want to lose that, even though Ben is in New York and Audrey is in Philly. And so just making sure she had an arc in this one was really important.
There were a couple of questions about whether we'll see any interactions between Harriet and Audrey in this book.
You shall see.
All right. So we have a couple of general questions about the book. What can you explain? Someone said, can you explain more about the plot?
So I feel like, okay, the plot is interesting because it's the back of the book summary is the least spoilery way to discuss the plot, but mainly it's Ben is harboring this giant secret and he moves to New York to live with his brothers for the first time since he was like little, and so they're all going to be living together, and he has this secret that he like definitely does not want them to find out, and so he knows that he probably isn't going to want to live there for that long. And he entrusts, this girl to help him keep the secret and get him out of his living situation.
What are some holidays and celebrations we can expect in Burn Bright?
There are birthdays celebrated in Burn Bright, so you can expect a birthday party of sorts.
I think if you know the characters' birthdays and you know this is taking place over like fall semester of college, you can kind of like
you can
kind of do the numbers on that one.
kind of guess that one out. I would say that's the biggest celebration of them all. The book also does fall over Halloween, so we love a good Halloween moment. That's all we can really, I think, say.
And then what would you rate the spice level of Burn Bright?
Now, this is interesting because I feel like everyone's definition of spice level is so different. Like, I would say some books that we've written are like extremely spicy, and then other people are giving it like a 2 chili pepper spice. Like I would say the spiciest book we've ever written was Destructively Mine.
Yeah, but I think Kiss the Sky is also up there.
But Destructively Mine only got 2 chili peppers from someone, and I'm like, I would have given that like 10. Like I would have been like, it is a ghost chili pepper or whatever. It is up there. Like it's gonna burn your mouth.
I always think Addicted to is probably our least spicy book, and then you have Kiss the Sky, and on a spectrum of Addicted to You to Kiss the Sky, I feel like Burn Bright is just kind of like in the middle. It's just maybe like I would say it's like
I honestly don't know.
2.5 to 3
What
peppers.
would you say, Haley?
I'm so bad at rating spice levels. I
mean, it's at
Usually-
least 2 chili peppers.
out of 5, yeah.
Yeah. I would say at minimum it's 2.
Well, it's open door,
Yeah.
descriptive scene. So like that, but it's like it's not like we've got every other chapter in there is.
Yeah. That's a good.
Yeah.
I agree.
So will we see any of Joanna or Roxanne in Burn Bright?
We can say yes.
Good. Okay. Future Cobalt story questions. Will all the books be standalone, or will there be a Cobalt sibling whose story continues over a couple of books?
They will all be standalone. When at first we did question whether one Cobalt could take over 2 books, but I think that we're more settled with the idea of writing one long book than splitting any of them up.
Yeah.
I really like
They
that
100%
qualifier.
will be standalones.
You like what?
I liked that qualifier. I had been wondering, like, you've started off with such a long book, and I liked hearing the one long book for all of the rest of them. Yes.
Yeah, we're definitely like if they need extra pages, we're just gonna keep the pages. And yeah, I think that you can definitely expect like even if the plot concludes, the character relationships will seep through and go forward and grow forward.
Yeah,
throughout the series.
I think that's something that's like present in all of your books is like just because we end with Ben and Harriet's book like doesn't mean we never or like in any of the characters you never see them again. Their lives move forward in the rest of the books.
Yeah.
So, will we be able to guess who the second book in the series will be about based on information in Burn Bright?
Yes and no. I think that you might be able to, but like honestly, if I was a reader and I had no idea what was to come, I think I would guess incorrectly.
I have seen readers guess two different siblings, so I'm going to say maybe not.
There's no like, and we've discussed this throughout the series, like we don't want like the end of these books to feel like a setup for the next book. Like we want it to kind of like just maintain each book as a whole and not do setups at the end. So there really is no kind of like lead in into the next one.
Yeah. So yeah, you could assume I think that you could assume it could be like two or three brothers like or or Audrey. Like I don't know. You could assume anything. You know, I'm not going to spoil anything right now.
I mean, Audrey could have a young adult romance. I mean, she's underage, but like teen romances, if the character's the same age. That's not even a spoil. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's not a we're just trying not to spoil anything.
I'm just throwing things out there. I'm throwing options.
Yes.
Yeah, all the you know what? It could be anyone.
What can you tease about the other siblings' love interests or stories?
Well, we have confirmed already Charlie's love interest. So Charlie's love interest is Roxanne. And I think like once you know that, I think I personally, if I was a reader and I found that out post Burn Bright, I would probably shriek into my pillow. I would be all for this. And so I'm so excited to write their their love story.
I will say there are some readers that don't totally know, but like all confirmed couples are on your website on the family tree. Some people don't know about that, but if you go check the family tree on Krista and Becca's website, it has confirmed couples.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I guess we've already asked that. Okay, so general writing questions. Where do you get your inspiration for the character traits, likes, and passions? Is it all it is all crafted into such a beautiful piece of art?
That's so sweet. I feel like it's a lot of times we're just talking about it a lot. Sometimes I'll bring up like comic book characters and be like, do you feel like this character is like in the same vein as like this thing? But yeah, to us just like really just talking about different traits that someone could have and their motivations and stuff, and they sort of just get fleshed out with me and Krista talking about it.
Yeah, and now that we've written so many characters, I feel like we honestly sometimes start a conversation like, what have we not seen before? Like, what have we not done? And I think it makes it a little bit easier going that route just to find like something fresh and new and interesting for a character.
When writing, how do you balance out a character's likable versus unlikable qualities? How do you know when to pull back on one and write more of the other?
I think that when we read each other's stuff and we're like, they're unlikable. Like I don't like they this
Like you get the ick. Like
yeah,
you're like, ew. Like we've done it for each other. Like you made them like I do not like
yeah,
them.
I don't there's something that they're doing that no, like they need to yeah, we need to talk about this and revisit it because that is not the way to go.
I think like an unlikability thing has to also be relatable. Like
Yeah,
you can do something that's unlikable but also relatable in a way because like we all have done things that are like made mistakes or like have not been the most likable traits in our lives, and I think that those relatability ones are the ones that I feel like can kind of
yeah.
not feel like like get the sense that I don't like this character
I
at
think it's
all.
like why are they doing what they're doing? It's like
Yeah.
the part and do you understand like yeah, can you relate to what they're doing and the reason why? I mean, For Burn Bright, most especially, we're writing characters who are 19. And so when you're in college too, like I know I was not perfect back then. And messiness, I think, is a thing, trial and error, trying to navigate life. And that is something that we love to consume in media and books, is that age group. It's the coming of age stuff. So I think people making mistakes is so relatable, but it's making sure that that those are relatable, and you do come from a place of understanding, and it's not just like that person is just being cruel.
An a-hole.
But there are side characters that I think are more so allowed to do that, because we are only, our characters, we write first person, so it's not like we're writing omniscient. That person can't possibly know what everyone's thinking and be able to explain and justify someone else's actions. So I think it's very understandable that you do have characters that are actually unlikable, Charlie. And maybe the person that you're in their heads aren't going to understand them. And I think that's okay. But I think when you are in a character's head, that's when it's like a little bit different, and they do need to be more likable.
I think that's like my favorite thing about the Addicted series and about just most of our books is that when we switch into other people's perspectives, like people, like the characters are the same, but they're definitely different through the lens that you're reading them from. So I think it's always really, really interesting. And that's what I love most about writing these like ensemble casts, is that we get to show how they're viewed in different perspectives.
Yeah, like sometimes when I think about Ben from Maximoff's POV, I mean Ben was young at the start for Maximoff, but he will always feel younger from Maximoff's POV, just because that's just how Maximoff sees him. Like that is the youngest Cobalt boy. Like he has very young memories of him. Yeah.
And then the hardest and easiest parts of writing this book.
I think the easiest part was the romance. Like, Ben and Harriet's romance just came so naturally. Their scenes were some of the all-time easiest scenes to write. Wouldn't you agree,
Yeah,
Becca?
I would agree. I would 100% agree. I think hard scenes are definitely like, I think, I honestly think that the Wednesday night dinners took, like, I think that they at least took a week to write. Like, between me
Yeah.
and Krista passing it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because there's just a lot of detail, and there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of past history that we're trying to make sure is correct, and we're not retconning anything. I think that's one of the hardest things, continuously writing so much in one world, is making sure that all the details are accurate, and we're doing them justice and not overturning anything.
I just thought about, and it made me laugh so hard, how long it took us to get the seating arrangement down in
My
Wednesday night
God.
dinner. Like, we were like on the phone for like hours.
I was
Like,
like,
and I was
Krista,
like, I had to make a
I was like, you
diagram.
have to make a diagram. I was like, I don't know where you put everyone, and I'm going to write someone in the wrong spot.
And I was like,
Diagram
no,
right
like,
now.
because she was like, no, can these two people sit beside each other? And I was like, no, they're like passing something across. Like, you cannot do it. They're passing something. And she was like, I don't get it. And I was like, I have to literally draw this out. Like, it was insane. Like, that scene took so much work.
Yeah, that scene took a really, but I love it. I mean, it's stuff like that though, it pays off. And when I go through my rereads, I'm like, I'm so glad we took the time to do this so I can reread it now.
Okay, so that is the end of the teaser before the book comes out part of the podcast. And now we have a couple of spoiler questions. So these are coming after the book is out. So if you're listening to this, make sure you have read Burn Bright, or you will be spoiled for details in the book going forward. This is your spoiler warning. So my first question for context is, there is a scene where Harriet asks Ben about where does the Cobalts being referenced as lions come from, and then she says that then they talk about the fact that they're black sheep and they must be the same breed. And it reminded me of the scene in Addicted After All when Rose mentioned that Rose had said that she and Connor were lions, and they were the same breed. And it felt like a parallel to me. And I had asked Becca if it was a purposeful parallel, and I wanted to ask Krista if it was a purposeful parallel.
I think that was accidental. Because we were trying, I think that our intent for the Addicted series was we were trying not to do too many parallels, just because I think, like Becca said before, we didn't want to have too many inside jokes or inside references for new readers feeling like they've missed something. We do have some parallels, but they're not I don't think that we have too many. And yeah, that one would have been completely accidental, especially on my part. I have not reread the Addicted series as much as Becca, and she knows a lot more up to date.
I reread them. I reread them before we started working on Burn Bright. That might have been like a subconscious
which I think is
insert.
just as cool as like it's just you're so consistent across all of your books that it just carries over even unintentionally. I think that's amazing too. So I was a little curious about your writing process and like the fact that Ben is a social butterfly, but then also struggles with this butterfly effect, which makes the butterfly even more appropriate for the cover. And also this fact that like all the way back in Alphas Like Us, was almost like this catalyst for how he's been feeling. How far back are you planning these things for your characters?
Yeah, we were talking the other day about how Ben's character, like, as I said at the top of, well, I don't know, is this episode I don't know if this episode will be tied to the other one, but
Yeah, we'll keep it tied.
okay. As I was saying, the yeah, Ben, his character really wouldn't exist without the Leica series. The Leica series is very essential in who Ben is, because we had him go through things during those 3 years of time. We knew exactly what he was dealing with and what was happening. And I think it was by the time he hit sinful like us, he started developing, this is the spoiler part, right?
Yes.
Okay, he started developing like magical thinking, and you can see it when he thinks that he is the reason the fire started. He is very upset by the fact that he told Thatcher that I hope you go burn in a fire. And then Thatcher literally almost dies in a fire by the end of the book. And Ben feels like he's like responsible for that. And so we knew like once that sort of like happened, like this was essentially a huge part of like what Ben is going through as a character. And so when we were developing him throughout the next set of novels, we knew like this is what he is going through and what he's sort of suffering with behind the scenes, but other characters aren't necessarily going to understand what's happening. So by the time you get to like Nobody Like Us, everyone's sort of like, what's going on with Ben? Like you're like people around him are like, he is sort of like acting kind of differently. He's starting to pull away from people. He's no longer friends with Winona at that time, and he's just doing things that aren't really in quote unquote Ben's nature. Like he's not being himself. And that sort of guides you into Burn Bright.
So I remember you guys saying at the end of Sinful Like Us, you're like, Ben's not doing so well right now. And I'm like, oh my God, all the way back then.
Yeah, I think it's like fun developing characters. I mean, we always knew when we were writing like a series that eventually we would have a series with the other characters. Like we always know we want to write with every character eventually. So I think that we're much more, I think, we know when we craft something, it's going to eventually have significance down the line in a book. So I think we're very intentional when we deal with any Hales, Meadows, Cobalts were very, very
Yeah.
much
I
intentional.
think it's because like during the Leica series, we weren't just talking about, okay, what is this character like? What is Winona going through in this book? It was like, okay, if she's going through this, what would her book potentially look like? Like, what is her book going to be about years to come? Like, what is her life from here to now? So those are conversations we do have during each book. We are talking about, okay, like, is this the trajectory of her life? Where is she going? We obviously give ourselves like room to wiggle around, but we do think about like character arcs a lot, each individual character.
It's just, it was mind blowing to me to see that character arc, like the third book of the Leica series. And I was like, oh my god, Ben, it's been so long. Okay, there are some emojis next to the Cobalt names in the book. Since Beckett doesn't text, I was just curious, what emoji does Harriet put for Beckett?
I love that you noticed that. So that's like those little things are so fun to me. I don't know if you noticed that her emoji for Ben changed throughout the
Yes,
book.
I did.
Yeah, it's just like the subtle little tiny things I like love, like the way that basically Harriet saves people's contacts in her phone versus Ben is
Yeah.
just so wildly different. And yeah, so you never see Beckett's. I think that she probably would have given Beckett. What would you say, Krista?
I feel like in my head, I feel like she would have given him like a black heart. I don't
The
know.
first thing
Like,
I thought a black heart, but I don't know if she would give him a heart.
yeah,
I feel like she would give him a bomb.
I feel like I have to go look at the emojis, like with like a caution sign or something.
Yeah, like
No, I just thought that detail was so cute. I was like going back and I was like, I didn't even notice this on first read. It was my reread. I was like, they all have different emojis, but Beckett, I don't know what Beckett's is. Okay. Um, so then there is a character that is never actually present in the book that I think might surprise some readers. And can you talk about why we never see Maximoff on page?
yeah, Krista and I when we were discussing, okay, which side characters are actually outside of the kobolds are actually going to appear and be like sort of a part of the book. Um, we knew it was going to be very few. Essentially, like Xander was going to be like the biggest one that was going to have an arc with Ben, but Maximoff, what we wanted to do was show that Maximoff has this really deep bond with basically all of the his cousins, his siblings and stuff, in a way that when you read the Leica series, it's understanding that when Maximoff has these connections and all of the cousins and everyone loves Maximoff so much, that's not in Maximoff's head. He's not like delusional in his idea that they all love him and go to him and are obsessed with the idea of like Maximoff. Like, no, like Maximoff is a pure little being and everyone really, really loves Maximoff in the family. And so we definitely wanted that to be felt, but not have Maximoff appear and sort of be like this larger than life being off screen that never comes in, that you feel hit the power of Maximoff without actually seeing him, and you sort of feel it through Ben's love of him and the fact that Maximoff is called in multiple crises to be there, but Ben sort of like is pushing him away, and so you don't see Maximoff appear. And Charlie obviously has some animosity with Maximoff, and Ben sort of uses that. And you see that dichotomy between Maximoff and Charlie through Ben's eyes, which I think is I think I'm glad we kept it and like all of that stuff exists in Burn Bright because I feel like it would be less full without it. I feel like if you read the Like Us series, you would be like, well, what about the whole 13 book series that I've just read? I don't think it would feel as continuous for those readers, and I think it's important to have the world still feel um like big, like still
Yeah.
expansive.
It wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't feel real if they didn't at least like Maximoff wasn't a presence in the book. But I think that for us, we knew he couldn't actually make a physical appearance because I think that in our heads we were like, this needs to feel so different than the Leica series. Like this needs to feel like the Cobalt Empire. And when you bring back like the main protagonist in this 13 book series and bring him into the Cobalt Empire, I feel like it feels more like too much of a continuation of the Leica series to the Cobalt Empire. And like the Cobalt Empire really needs to feel like this is its own thing. They're in New York. There's a lot of separation between the people in New York and the people in Philly.
Yeah.
I think that we had to like just balance that out with also, like Becca said, making it feel like Maximoff is not delusional.
And Maximoff's whole growth in the Leica series is really relinquishing responsibility and control. And I feel like it would be a disservice if he was like meddling and constantly like fixing the situations and coming in to save the day. Because his whole entire sort of arc in the Leica series is the idea that he does not always need to be the one that comes in and saves the day. And other people can do that too, and he doesn't have to carry that weight and that burden. And so you know, the no, from Nobody Like Us to Burn Bright, it was sort of like Maximoff passing the torch to those who are sort of in New York, and he isn't going to always be there. He trusts Charlie to take care of his sister if need be. He doesn't need to make that drive and, you know, leave behind his own family that he's created. You know, he has to.
His priorities have shifted.
They've shifted, and I think it feels so right that like the Kobolds, you know, are now there for each other without having to like rely on Maximoff. And I think it makes scenes like the when Ben shows up at the escape room and he like looks and he's like, oh, it's just like the Cobalt, my brother's bodyguards. It's just an immediate family matter. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it makes sense that Maximoff doesn't show up because this whole story feels like the Cobalts need to heal together, and he is such a fixer that he'd come in, and like it needed to be Charlie and Beckett and Elliot and Tom like helping Ben. It didn't need to be Ben's cousin helping him.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense that he stays out of it.
I almost feel like if Maximoff came in and tried to fix it, it would cause more problems.
Yeah.
Like it definitely he needed to take a backseat and like let, you know, the Kobolds handle it.
I loved it because it meant that you could see Charlie and Beckett be like the oldest, biggest brothers, and like I feel like a little bit because you start off with Maximoff's perspective in the Leica series, they do feel younger to me. So then it is that whole thing with like Ben starting off the series that now they feel older, and I'm like, I love them as big brothers. They're such good big brothers.
Yeah.
Maximoff always gets that praise, but like Charlie and Beckett deserve that kind of praise too.
Yes, they totally feel like that. And like I love that too, the realization that they've sort of been on their own for like a very long time. Um and so they've been in the adult world for quite some time. They're not like naive to things, and they definitely carry like strong independent big brother energy.
They do. Okay, so then we have some reader submitted questions about. So first off is Xander slash the Hales. Do you plan on confirming who Xander's love interest is in the Cobalt Empire series, the way you confirmed Charlie's?
I don't think we've talked about it if when we want to confirm it. I mean, it's always possible, I would say.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah.
The right time. Makes sense. And then we kind of talked about why the Hales didn't show up too much except for Xander. Charlie questions. Will we get a Charlie Roxanne scene or scenes in future books, or will we have to wait for Roxley's book? curious because Charlie was not included in Roxanne's scene in Burn Bright. Was there a reason for this? Is there a specific reason for making that kind of decision?
It felt like it would have been too much at that point to have them sort of, we didn't want to set up every single romance at like the same, like here's the, everyone gets their meet cute in Burn Bright.
Yeah.
I think that you will 100% see them interact in the Cobalt Empire series before they get a book.
Charlie's book. Yeah.
Okay. And then we got a bunch of Spencer questions. Is there anything you can tease about Spencer, her Pinterest board, any of that?
I don't think that there's too much we can say.
I think we have her Pinterest board, but we don't have like I don't think we have like a fan cast picked out yet, which is why we probably wouldn't release it until we can like kind of like narrow that down. But yeah, I really love her and Nobody Like Us. I think that's all I'll say.
Yep. End of sentence, period. Okay, so that is all of the questions that I have for this. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I appreciate all the people who have early reviewed it and read it. I know it's a very chunky book, but I think that it reads quite fast. Well, I think it reads quite fast. I think that when you read it, every time I reread it, I'm like, I don't think that anything could have been cut. Like, I think everything is very much necessary to the book. And yeah, I'm just in love with it. I think that it is probably one of my favorite books we've ever written, and I think it's one of the best crafted books we've written. So I would probably say, if not the best, then one of the best, top best.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard for it to come out of like my top 3 favorite books that we've ever written, for sure. And I'm just really excited for everyone to read it. If you've read it, thank you so much. And I'm excited for what's next in the Cobalt Empire series. We're just at the beginning, which is crazy. So it's going to be really fun.
All right. And yeah, so I think that concludes this teaser episode. Thank you both so much for sharing what you could about this book. And until next time, continue to stay addicted to Krista and Becca's writing like us.